your best right now, your best effort is 40 seconds that you got it done. Let's see if you could get 39.
Yeah.
Then he'll get 42. So he wouldn't get it. Good job, dude. That is how we lose.
Yeah.
That is how we lose. Because sooner or later, you're going to lose in something, a relationship, a MMA fight. But if you lose knowing you gave it your all, I mean, you can sleep better at night. So that's like clicks in their head. Oh, like, especially in wrestling, parents kill their kids, dude, with just screaming at them. And man, some of these tournaments, they're just blasting them, dude.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you doing it? Why don't you show me? And I feel like saying, show me what you mean, dude. Come do it to me. As a parent, show me. Let me show you how hard it is for your kid. Because you've never wrestled. Yeah. But you're wanting your kid to do something
that you can't even do.
Or you haven't even attempted to do. You could probably do it, but do you want to put in the effort to do it? No. So then why are you getting mad at him? You don't even know if he's really putting in his effort. So for me, when I get a kid to know, like, okay, I thought I was giving effort when I got a minute with the push-ups, the med balls, and the squats. But no. If you do that effort that it took for you to give 40 seconds and you still lose, I guarantee you your dad won't get mad at you. Because he knows that he knows 100% effort when you give it. Because he knows when you want something. So if the dad is here and he knows his son gives 100% effort on a wrestling match, but he loses still, he's gonna be like, bro, good job. If you lose, that's how you lose. Let's go get a game at GameStop or something. But it's only when the kid's like, when I first tell the kid, hey, I want to see your best. Give me 5 push-ups, 5 squats, and 5 over the shoulder. It's like, okay, it's like, no, bro, no. That's why the parents, personally, that's why a good solid parent will get mad at them, which I agree.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're not gonna give 100% and you lose, and I hear you throwing your headgear and hitting the wall, stuff like that, where was all that anger in there? Or where was all that passion or that will to win in there?
Right.
If you're going to lose, you should be dead tired.
Yeah.
And be like, phew, you got me, bro. Knuckles. I'll get you on the next one.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah.
But I'm 33 now. It took me till I was 24, 25 to figure that out. And I've been wrestling since I was 6. It's like, okay, it's the effort.
Welcome to the Righteous Real podcast, where, how do I say it again? Real change and real transformation, and where real talk empowers real change. I'm your host, Emilio Aldana the Fourth, and we're starting our 6th episode with my man Paul Elizondo.
Yep.
Did I pronounce that properly?
Junior. Yep. Yes,
Junior.
Junior.
All right. What is your Instagram?
Paul Jr. Fit _ I believe.
Okay, so make sure to go ahead, check out his profile. He's not only one of the best people around that I train around at the gym, but also in Fresno, one of the best people that I know. And you're super into fighting, boxing. Just a second ago, we were talking about literally everything to do with effort. You know what I mean? Effort. I would say it's crazy we start off this whole podcast with just like talking about effort. You know what I mean? So you can keep going, man, because I found it really intriguing. And I actually, I asked you the question like, hey, what's the difference between, doing as much as you possibly can, and like, okay, well, anybody can make you do more, right? Or just make you tired, right? Any trainer, anybody can do that, but then there's the way that you do it.
Yeah, and if you want to do it.
Yeah.
Like I have some kids who are forced to wrestle, and that's like, if the parent brings them to me, and because we need him to wrestle, he has to wrestle no matter what, and he doesn't like it, the parent will sit at the corner, and me and the kid, it's just awkward. Yeah. The kid doesn't want to be there. I'm like, I'm trying to force them to do something that's the most uncomfortable. Yeah. Like to grab another kid their size and have sweat on them and be claustrophobic. Like no one wants to be claustrophobic, not even me, So the kid kind of needs to want to do it. Yeah. In order for it to work in the long run and for the right reasons, I guess.
Yeah. I've had clients who have been forced to start training with me. Yeah. Right. Because their kids and their parents might, whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's never the best situation. What I always try to do in those situations is to try to like encourage them and get them to understand that it's really their journey. Yeah. Like how can we get you to just start enjoying this yourself.
Yeah.
Rather than feel like you're being forced to do this.
Yeah.
Hey, you actually have a great opportunity. Not everybody can even afford to pay to be here, right?
Or some people have no legs and they can't even do a squat.
Yeah, so you might as well enjoy the fact and the opportunity that you are here able to train with a guy like Paul or any other good trainers,
Or
like
Emilio.
Fresno, or Emilio Aldana the fourth, Emilio Aldana Ivy. But with that,
Paul's direction, Mike.
You got it. Cool. That sounds good. Cool.
so yeah, you know what I mean, like with different people like that. But man, I kind of lost track already. Frick.
But yeah, effort. No, you're good.
bro.
Effort.
Effort.
Yeah,
So
effort.
with effort, we talked also about just again how difficult you have to make things in order to kind of push towards that next level. And it's like when you start to feel like, okay, I can't do anymore, getting to that point where you're like, okay, I can do more. I can do more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would say, and then the word fear, we can use it in different ways. So some people say the fear of God. It's that this isn't what I mean. Fear of God is over here. But when I sign up for an MMA fight, the fear of not being able to have the conditioning or the fear of not pushing my body to the limit is there. Right when I signed that contract, boom, it started. Like, okay, in 2 months, 3 months, maybe 4 months if I'm lucky, I know on this day I have to perform.
Yeah.
So how do I get myself to start performing on my own when it's time to perform?
Yeah. Well, I never thought about it the way you kind of explained it in the beginning, where you said, okay, hey kid, or person, it doesn't have to be a kid, just a person. Hey person, do this specific exercise for this much time and let's see how many you can do.
Yeah.
And then get that time, get that number and be like, okay, let's try to shave 10 seconds off.
Yeah.
And then they'll do it. So it's almost like they don't even try to do they don't even know what their best is until they're told what their best could be from an outside perspective.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? It's an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah. And hopefully if you're lucky, like, let's say a client, or let's just say an average Joe goes to the doctor and he gets his blood work and the doctor's like, you have good life insurance? And he's like, yeah, doc, why? You're doing the right things. Well, good, you're going to need it because your blood work says you only have like 5 more years. Or you never get into the gym and start working out. That sense of fear now clicks. And it's like, okay, I've been going to the gym and obviously it's not right. What have I been doing wrong? Once you get a personal trainer and somebody who knows how to push you and you feel like you can't go anymore, yeah, dude, this is what you should have been doing before, though. It's like uncomfortable. Don't go to the gym to be comfortable because then you get the blood work results back and now you're like having to pay somebody when you should have done the work yourself. This goes for everything, I think. I mean, for me, for the longest, it was for my credit score. You know, I had to be more disciplined, more uncomfortable, not spending the money I wanted to spend so I can, build that credit. And for me, it was that. It literally, it's physically, it's easier for me.
Yeah.
Because I like fitness.
It literally applies to everything.
Exactly.
Like, hey, don't do
Sacrifice.
something when you finally realize, oh my gosh, I have to do it because now if I don't, I'm stuck in this bad position.
Yep.
How can I start to be so aware of myself that I know I need to start doing this one thing now before it gets out of hand?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the Christian aspect, that's carrying your cross, right? You sacrifice today for tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's like the small steps you say no to. There's an easier no now. And if you say that easy no right now, you don't have to run into that hard no later. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's that aspect of immediate gratification that we all want in this day and age because everything's
quick.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, it's going to be even quicker. Uber Eats, dude, you don't have to wait for the driver. You don't have to wait for the driver anymore. There's going to be a drone dropping it.
Yeah.
They don't have to wait for traffic at all anymore. And I mean, even me, my Mother's Day gift, I'm still waiting for it to come in right now. Like, quick, dude. I already ordered it. I paid the shipping, So, but yeah, effort goes a long way. Effort goes a long way.
And so you talk a lot about effort, and we talked a little bit about also you were training since you were 6.
Yeah, I've been wrestling since I was 6.
What did you said wrestle?
Yeah.
So what made you want to start wrestling? Why was that the sport or the thing you were gravitating towards when you were a kid? I know you kind of tap into like your child mindset.
Yeah.
But
well, I didn't have a choice in the beginning. So I grew up watching WWF. Back then it was WWF Federation. That's when Goldberg, Stone Cold, Kane, Undertaker, I was big into them. And Kurt Angle, the wrestler, the Olympic wrestler, just came in. and he would wear the singlet and drink the gallon of milk.
Yeah.
And I never really knew this because I was like, before that I was 5 years old, but my uncles wrestled, Johnny and Robert Estrada wrestled at Central and Buchanan, and they were, pretty good, especially in California, in the Central Valley, definitely. So when they were at Central Club Wrestling, the head coach has a grandson, my size, my age, and I love WWF. And they offered my dad, like, hey, you should put Paul into wrestling with us. And my dad was like, you want to go wrestle? I was like, you mean this? Jumping off of chairs and slamming people on tables? Let's do it.
Yeah.
I get there, dude, and I'm like, what is this?
These dudes are hugging and grabbing and all sweaty on a mat.
I'm like, where are the smacking? Where are the steel chairs and stuff? I thought I'm trying to learn how to, smash them, because we went to Kitty Castle or daycares and stuff, and we would do that on our own just from what we would watch, front flips off the tables and stuff. But
sometimes you can wrestle and throw people over your shoulder and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But when I got in there, the head coach's grandson was my training partner, and I didn't know anything, and he's just whooping me, dude. And I was crying. I didn't want to do it anymore. Like I get claustrophobic. Picture somebody like holding their hand over your face, and you can't breathe, and you're sweaty. But one time, sooner than later, it ended up clicking. The grandson took some time off, maybe like a year, I don't know, but I stood in it, and I was wrestling with the other kids. But when that kid came back, when the grandson came back, the tables turned on him with me. I was beating him up. So at 7, 8 years old, it finally clicked in my head, oh, he was beating me up when I first started, but he stopped. I stood in it. Now I beat him up. Okay, I get this. This makes sense now.
Like simple child mindset, yeah.
Super simple. But I mean, even it's hard for adults to even know that, It's like you put in the time, you will get better. The problem is we think time is just like within the day. We want it now. If I do it today, tomorrow I should know it. No, it's not going to work like that, dude. And especially not when it comes to the physical. It takes forever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, at 6 years old, I started wrestling. 8 or 9, I kind of got burnt out of wrestling. I got really good. We were going to tournaments and whatnot, and my dad would tell me, you have any game you want if you win the tournament, and I was doing it, dude. And sooner than later, I was like, okay, I want to try something else. Thank God my dad let me, because some of these like state placers and stuff, state and national champions, they have no choice. Too bad you're not going to do anything else. This is what we do. Fortunately for me, my dad let me play soccer. So from like 9 and 10 years old, my dad let me play soccer, and I was a center mid. We were really good.
Is this where you learn how to kick?
No. No, the kicking comes naturally.
Dang it.
Yeah, no. I mean, the soccer is definitely way easier than wrestling for many aspects. One, it's not that physically demanding. And for two, I mean, as a center mid, I'm only getting the ball every now and then. I'm not the defender. I'm not the forward. So I'm not always having to fight as a defender. I'm not always having to pressure it for the forward and try to score the goal. But we were a really good team, dude, and we made it all the way to the championships. And in my head, I'm used to being in a singlet as a kid, wrestling in front of hundreds of people. My family, everyone else's family. You got the kid's mom barking at me like, he has nothing, son. So as a soccer game, I'm like, hey, this is easy, whatever. For some reason, dude, at the championship level on soccer where I was at with our team, I would see all of my soccer team get like cold feet and nervous where they weren't showing up. I would rely on the defender to defend. Well, the team would rely on him to defend, and he would let their guy just run right past him, to the point where I was getting aggressive. Like, dude, why are you letting this guy go right through us? And then the goalie, after none of us, including myself, not allowing them to get past us, the goalie would, not do the best or try his best, but still get scored on. The goalie's crying. He doesn't want to play anymore. I'm like, we ended up losing. Maybe me being a poor sport, I don't know, but I told my dad, I'm done with this. I'm going back to wrestling. Because if I'm going to lose, I know what it takes to win, and I'm not letting anybody else be the reason why I lose. And ever since then, I've never done any other sport.
besides something where it's only decided by you.
Yep. And it, to a point, because like in high school, we have this saying that if you're the best one in the wrestling room during practice, you're not getting better. What I mean by that is at Bullard High, class of 2010, I was the best in the wrestling room. They would line up like juniors and sophomores and a couple seniors with me just to give me a good look, to push me with effort, to where my coach would have to start wrestling with me because there was nobody there for me. But then why is it at every tournament that year I would lose to the Clovis kid? Well, because the Clovis kid is getting whooped by all his wrestling team. So he's getting better in there.
You're only as good as your opponents.
Exactly. Or you're only as good as the best one in the team. And so that means in 2010 at Bullard High, I'm the best one on the team. No one else is getting better than me. I had the problem. What I should have done was either bring more people in, which I wasn't allowed to or anything. I learned that when I transferred into fighting, though. I transferred that into fighting. I would bring the guys better than me, and I would get confidence from that. So if I knew I'm fighting this guy who's really good, who do I know that can definitely beat my opponent that I'm going to fight in 3 months? I'm going to bring that guy in. Not only am I going to bring him in, but I'm going to try to push myself to beat him. And then when I get to the fight night, I'm telling myself I've done all the work. I brought the bodies in. The guys that I've been training with this whole time will definitely beat my opponent. I'm smashing this guy tonight. And that's where my mental confidence comes in.
Yeah. So what got you into wrestling initially was, you're not even having the choice, really being forced into it. Yeah. But then,
which I mean, kids shouldn't have the choice.
Yeah. Why? Why do you say that?
Because if it was up to us, we would want to play games all day and eat hot Cheetos.
Right. That's important to say because you're right. I think a lot of people, I always say this, God wants you to do what he wants you to do for fulfillment through him, right? He wants the best for you. We want what we want. We want what we desire. And a lot of what we desire isn't the right thing.
Nope.
In that same way, he's a parent to us in that aspect. Yep. So you're right. I agree. Like when I have my future daughter in August, it's like there's moments where she's going to want to quit. Yep. She's going to do this or that. Yep. Or like, I'd rather go here, go there. But it's like, hey, do this thing because this is going to build X, Y, and Z. And this is what's going to give you the foundation to be successful in your future.
So some things are going to hit you hard in life. And at least you have the capacity mentally to say, okay, you know what, maybe I did mess up or they did me wrong, but whatever, I'm going to suck it up and keep moving on. Because if you don't, all there's left to do is throw a pity party for yourself and you're not going to get better and you're not going to learn. So yeah, definitely. I definitely knew as a young age, if it was up to me, I wouldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
So, but then later I figured like, okay, I'm in this now. I do understand what this is giving me. I think in high school, middle school, I started to realize, the muscles are coming in. I'm a little guy, so I do definitely need to start defending myself, stuff like that, which that's kind of weird also because I have a wrestler who the mother came up to me a couple weeks ago and was like, Paul, thank you so much. My boy got in trouble for defending somebody else and he never defends and he always got bullied. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, good job to him. And she was kind of happy that he got in trouble for defending this boy. And I'm like, okay, that's good. That's a good start. But the goal is for him to carry this good energy that these guys don't even want to mess with him. And that goes a lot more. That goes that goes further than having to actually, I wouldn't say have to stick up for yourself, but just know like you could probably get away with this guy, but don't try that with this guy. Don't try to bully this guy or anything like that. And I think that's better to carry.
Yeah, because sometimes maybe it gets in their head that they are, maybe, better or beating up on somebody.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want that.
Superiority complex to everything.
Yeah.
Especially when you're so young, you probably think that way. You know what I mean? Because you work with a lot of kids. You know what I mean? So it's like, in your eyes, what's the difference between working with a kid and then an adult? And do you find sometimes like in an adult session, you find it funny where you're able to push a kid a certain way, but you can't push an adult in a certain way? Or like, do you have moments like that? And that's always tough, dude. That's tough because it's hard for you like to not compare, be like, bro, my 6-year-old student was doing this morning with more energy, with all this, you know what I mean? And then it's like, you can't even,
it's a tough one, man. Well, as an adult, you're an adult at this point. I could if you give me, and it sucks, but I hate to say this, but if I'm with a client and I feel that they're open for criticism and constructive criticism,
Accountability.
right? Accountability,
Right.
yeah, the real stuff. Like, hey, dude, I'm not here to point the finger at you or anything. I do it too, but you need to change this. You need to change, like going to bed on time or not eating after 10. At least 10, stuff like that. I can easily tell a kid that, like, hey, dude, or I would tell the parent for the kid. Then I would also tell the kid. Or if I know that the kid's eating McDonald's all the time before they come to the session, with the kid there, with the parent there also, I'll tell the kid this, but I'm really dropping a little note to the parent, like, and hey, dude, don't be having that McDonald's before you get here because your stomach hurt today and we trained like crap, and your parent works really hard to pay me for this session. So you eat like crap, you train like crap. We need to eat good.
But also the kid, a lot of the time, doesn't have a choice.
Exactly. So that's why I say it right in front of the parent.
Yeah.
Instead of me saying, hey, parent, you know what you need to do? You need to raise your kid right.
Yeah.
But you can't really do that.
You can't attack it like that.
No.
And a lot of the time, parents will do it because of convenience.
Exactly.
Right?
And
And
it's
so
tough,
they don't
man.
understand that they're causing their kid to have bad habits.
Yeah.
And in the future, it's going to implicate on their health and stuff like that.
And at the same time, I don't understand. I mean, I have a 11-year-old, 12-year-old stepdaughter, but I don't understand yet what it is to have to pick the kid up from school, take them back home, feed them, and then take them to the gym. Who knows? Like, I'm going to be in that position in a couple of years, like, oh, wait, it's so convenient right now to stop at In-N-Out real quick. But I remember what I told so-and-so. Let's go home real quick. And we'll fall short every now and then. But
Yeah. I think convenience will get the best of us for the most part. But I think as long as we teach our kids the foundation,
Yeah.
if like right now you're talking about your 12-year-old, stepdaughter, it's hard because obviously it's not your own daughter, but you treat it like it's your own daughter. So you're going to try your best to treat her as many, teach her as many things as possible to make sure she's successful in the future. You know what I mean? But at some point, it's going to be difficult, right?
Yeah, and it's easier when she sees me doing it. It's easier to preach what I practice.
Action.
Yes, it's so much easier. I haven't fought in 4 years, and I've met my lady 2.5 years ago. We've been together for 2 years now. So this is the first time her and the 12-year-old actually seen me in a training camp, eating, preparing my mind, preparing my body, and they're like, holy crap. And I'm like, yeah, this is why I really don't like doing it.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's very selfish.
Yeah, it is. That's a good word to use.
Yeah.
It is
super
selfish. Yeah.
And why is it selfish? Because my teeth are on the line. My nose is on the line. YouTube is here. You get slept. Your grandkids are going to see this for life, you know? And it's like no one knows about that. No one sees
pressure.
that. Yeah, the pressure that you give yourself, because at the end of the day, they say that we're modern gladiators who fight in the cage. Kind of. Those were criminals, and they were forced to do it for their freedom. I feel like this is more of a spiritual battle because we're volunteering for it. How dark are you willing to go to volunteer for something like this?
Right.
Well, for me personally, it gets me closer to the Lord, to pick up my cross. Well, what do I mean by that? If I were to ask myself, what's the hardest thing I can do? Personally, for me, it's fighting another man, my size, my skill level, having to cut my weight and fasting, and that's, for me, that I know what it gives me, and I become a way better of a person. Sign me up. Let's do it.
Well, do you feel like the word you just mentioned a second ago was selfish?
Yeah.
Do you feel like almost everything in your life basically becomes obsolete compared to the thing that you're focused on, which is, in this case, the fight? Like almost everything else in your life gets sacrificed for this one thing. Is that how you feel? Like, do you feel like almost like, everything else you're losing in, but because the only thing you're focused on is not losing in this fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard. And this is why I'm saying is because I competed last year in a bodybuilding competition and I was super irritated. I was super hungry. And there was one moment where my wife asked me and was like, hey, are you okay? And she would always ask, well, not even just one time, it was all the time. She would always ask me, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm already irritated because I'm hungry and I'm tired. And I'm like, babe, I love you. I'm like, stop asking me if I'm okay.
Exactly.
I'm like, I'm tired
Yeah.
and I'm hungry.
Yeah.
This is how I feel. This is what it is. And I wasn't trying to be rude because she knows I wasn't trying to be rude, but it's like, you know,
But your
anything could
energy
take
is
you
low.
off. Yeah.
Your energy is low and it has to be preserved.
So that's what I'm saying is it in those moments when you're fighting, is it similar to that aspect?
Yeah, definitely. So like, I give an example. When I started fighting after college, so this was 2013, I was living by myself. I would have a guy roommate every now and then, but my lifestyle was a roller coaster. As I'm going up, I'm eating. I signed up for the fight. I'm eating clean. I'm not going out. I'm not partying. I'm not hanging out with friends. I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm not doing any type of recreational drugs or anything like that. And once I win, or I went 8-0 by the way, an amateur. But once I win or lose, most of the time win because it's celebrating. Now I'm going out. Now I'm hanging out with friends. Now I'm drinking and I'm staying up late. Stuff like that. So being by myself, getting ready, like if you were getting ready for your show, imagine going home to an apartment with no one there. You get to just turn on your movie, peace and quiet. You get to have you cutting the weight for the show and you having to go work out to prep yourself, that comes with the goal you're trying to achieve. But you don't have to give any type of energy to a spouse right then and there. Or if your spouse is in need of dinner, you don't have to cook it for them or anything. That's what I mean by sacrifice. It's like, it's too selfish for that. I can't do that.
Yeah, I feel like almost everything gave way in my life outside of what I was trying to do. Like it just became my complete
Priority.
focus.
Yeah.
Like, okay, hey, I need to like make sure that I look a certain way on the show because I don't want to embarrass myself.
Yeah.
And so I'm so focused on this. It's all I can think about.
Yeah.
That's all I can talk about.
But at the same time, you're not absolutely cutting all your clients at the gym. You're still having to work. So you're still carrying those conversations with your wife.
Right. But you want to give your all to everybody you love.
Yeah.
And even my clients, obviously, I care about them so much. So I want to give them all I have.
But you also sign for another responsibility. Something that actually boosts your, I would say, fitness,
discipline,
training.
mental, everything.
But even promotional wise, right? Somebody sees you on stage like that. Hey, I want to train with this guy.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So it helps you in the long run. But carrying your cross, a little bit of sacrifice today for bigger reward later on in the future.
Yeah, no, that's true. And so when you were dieting down and cutting and working out, there's no way that some of those relationships probably hurt a little bit, right, in your life because you were so focused? Or were you able to have a good balance? If you were, how? Because I would love to know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, not necessarily in a negative way they messed up, more of just pushing away for a little bit. Like they know, they respect the sport.
Right.
I would say with me and my lady, that would probably be the toughest because when I first moved in with them, this was maybe a year ago. During my training camps when I was living by myself, Mike Tyson says it best. Like when he gets ready for a fight, he leaves the house. He rents an Airbnb for months because it's so hard to turn on that beast and then have a 15-minute drive home and turn it off. It's so hard for the human to do that. I even catch myself sometimes now from the last fight camp, like, easy, Paul, just relax, let it go. But going in my 20s, having a fight camp, I'm listening to David Goggins, I'm listening to Jocko Wheat, all these guys who are like mentally ready for war, and it's like, perfect, this is exactly what I need to tap into. I go to my training sessions. Me and my buddies we have a good relationship, but forgive me, I'm here to kill you today. And that's why I would actually pay my training partners to come in. Because it's harder, like let's say you're one of my training partners. You're 24, 25?
Yeah, I'm 24.
24-year-old entrepreneur. If you're training with me and you mess your knee up or something, you can't go and work anymore. Or some of my buddies work for UPS. Now, since they got that job, I never called them in to come and train with me because, God forbid, what if they mess their knee up with me? you know? So I'm now, for this training camp, I was bringing in all the college wrestlers, all the young strikers, because they want to do it. They can afford it. They're healthy. They can afford it physically. Like they don't have 30-year-old knees or anything like that, you know what I mean? So in my 20s, after my fights, I would go home. I would eat. As I'm eating, I'm watching Animal Planet. I'm watching this lion tear up this zebra, and that mindset is still there, dude. And like, I hate to admit it, but yeah, it's true, because sooner than later, especially once you do your first MMA fight, you're like, oh, I'm really in a cage. This is real human cockfighting. You know, this is real. This dude's about to try to kill me right now. So you can either run from that, or you just run towards him and take him out before he takes you out.
Well, that was one of the things I was curious about, is how do you learn to have peace through God, but also, you know, have that beast when you know, are about to knock somebody out. You're about to KO somebody. You know what I mean? How do you balance that? You know what I mean? It's
hard. I will be the first to admit, in my 20s, when I first started fighting, I knew picking up my cross was to fight, because I wanted, where I am now with my personal training, with my wrestling team, with my cardio kickboxing class, I'm exactly where I'm at, or where I wanted to be. How do in the past, my mindset was, how do I get there? How do I get the parent to know that when it comes to martial arts, bring your kid to me? Well, I got to show it. How do I show that? Well, I can easily go on YouTube and have my buddy here, and I can show all kinds of techniques and practices and make it so cool. Or I can do raw fighting and show everybody, like, look what I can do. And that's exactly what I did. So doing that, I got into the sport thinking of carrying my cross. But just like every other, personally for me, just like a 20-year-old who just gets lost in it, I started going more to, the darker I can become, the meaner I can become, the better, the easier it is to bring that violence out. So then I started getting into the David Goggins and all that, and it was working. But then, for me personally, I got into a little bit of trouble in my late 20s, and it's like, okay, what am I doing wrong? I thought I'm making these sacrifices to have a better life, and I'm not. So it's very hard to be soft as an MMA fighter, because you don't want that softness on the wrong day. Because if you're soft on fight day, then you want to give this guy sympathy. He's not going to give you sympathy.
Yeah, it's like that one guy who was trying to make up with Mayweather in one of those boxing matches, and he's like trying to fist bump him, and then Mayweather just, whatever, dude, I'm gonna knock you out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty funny. Like that you say that, is because you can't be soft in the worst moments. You have to be strong at all times. Or else you'll get caught.
There's no mercy. Yeah, split second, dude. Your nose is shifted to the right, or both of your teeth are knocked out. It's like, in my head, that's how I think.
So you've learned to sort of turn it off in the right moments, but would you say that's through reading your Bible? Maybe that's because of somebody in your life influencing you the right way?
Yeah, definitely. So in my late 20s, in 2020, I had my last fight, and that was right when COVID hit. So my fight promotion was in California, and they were at the Save Mart Center, and I loved them. They were taking care of me. Shout out to Combat Americas, but our governor at the moment, present, screwed it all up, and now they had to stay in Florida, and I'm not going to Florida. My money is here. So the money wasn't here, but I'm already in the position I wanted to be as a personal trainer. I'm done with it then. There's nothing left for me in MMA. So I started getting bored in COVID. I started turning on my audio Bible. I started reading the Bible a little more. I was always going to church because, the fear of fighting brought me closer to the Lord. I was like, oh, sheesh, ain't nothing like praying for my well-being. You know what I mean?
Well, because death is a reality, and every time you step into the octagon, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And something that's a little closer to you than death is pain. So I'm not even thinking about dying. I'm thinking about the pain that I'm going to have. I mean, God forbid I would pass away, but some people think, most fighters say it's better to get knocked out in the first 10 seconds because you wake up and don't feel nothing, rather than getting your butt kicked for all 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, if you were to go through both of them, most people would probably want to get knocked out after 2 seconds because you just wake back up and that's it. Yeah, you're a little sore on the jaw next day. But I lost one fight and his name is Trevor Wells and it's on YouTube if you want to go see it.
I think I know because you told me about this guy.
And man, talk about a 15-minute time in hell. There is not one point where he let me breathe. And there wasn't a point I let him breathe, but props to him. I always tip my hat to him. He did get me on that fight. The scorecards were a little closer than what I thought, just by my own self-criticism. But yeah, definitely, that was definitely baptism under fire.
Yeah. Do you keep up with all the different, what I say, combat sports that are going on, like boxing, MMA, jiu-jitsu? Like, do you keep up with everything?
No, not most of the time. It's mostly the characters, like the Ryan Garcias. I'll keep up with him, or the Gervonta Davises, or there's a couple, Gordon Ryan in jiu-jitsu, Mason Fowler. Some of these like anomalies that I see that bring something different, whether it's social media or just their marketing in general, or even their style. Actually, tonight, Lomachenko, the Ukrainian for boxing, they call him the Matrix. The way this guy moves is legit. His father, they're both from Ukraine. His father put him in Ukrainian ballet dancing from like 7 to 10. And the way his feet move is like, oh man, that's something different. So I try to
footwork, basically.
Footwork, everything, dude. It's so amazing. Just like, yeah, the type of punches he throws, he makes it seem so simple, but when you're in there, it's so hard to do that.
It's so easy to look from the outside perspective and be like, oh, I could do that,
Definitely.
or I could dodge that, or that you could see that coming.
Yeah.
But then when you're in the ring, there's so many things that could throw you off.
By so fast. So how do I say that? When it goes by so quick, it's too late to think. So whatever you've been doing in your training camp, it's gonna just automatically come to you in the fight. So you have to put in the work. And this last fight, there's many fights that happen like this, but this last fight, I finally let my dad be in my corner. My dad's usually just front row,
Right.
but before COVID, my last fight, he wanted to come into the cage, and I don't know why. Right when I won, everything's happening so fast, he wasn't able to come in. And he always said, I wish I got into the cage, this and that, and it always stuck in my head. So this time that I just won, I put him in. Not only did I let him come into the cage, but I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't forget. So I told him he's going to be one of my cornermen. So he's one of my coaches this time. And we're in the back, and everyone's getting their hands taped and whatnot. And one of the fighters pull out. He's getting his hands taped. We're all shaking.
Yeah, because everybody's nervous, right?
Everybody's nervous. But what thoughts are going through your head? Mine, I put in the work. I trained with the hard guys. I brought the hard guys in, and they were beating me up, but I was pushing myself. I'm not going to win all the time, but I did the work. And I know what I'm going to bring into the table right now. God forbid if I do lose, I put in the work, and I'm okay with losing because I already put in 100% effort. The effort's going to be there. But some of these guys, you had months to prepare. The times you called in from practice, the times you went to Burger King instead of eating that salad, the times where you should have went that extra round and you didn't, the times you should have went to GB3 by yourself to do the cardio and you chose not to. Why? Because no one was looking. But now everyone's looking. And who's judging you? You're judging yourself right now. And now you don't want to go.
Dang.
That's the realest ever, dude. Because, I mean, yeah, death is real to us, but it's the pain and the embarrassment that makes it a little bit closer to reality.
So almost, combat sports isn't even just physical.
Nah, bro.
Would you say it's like, what,
Spiritual.
maybe 30-40% spiritual, and then where the rest is mental and spiritual?
Yeah. Well, personally, I think mental and spiritual are really close. But like when you wrestle with God, to me that's mental.
Yeah. How have you found the aspect in the sport of boxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, just combat sport in general? How have you seen that positively affect your life? Like just specifically your life, your relationships with people, everything.
Yeah.
Like how has boxing, MMA, wrestling taught you, like what has it taught you to the point where you see it in your everyday life?
Corrective criticism will get you further, and you enjoy giving yourself 100% effort. You'll be able to sleep better. For me, because when you rest your head on that pillow and you say your prayer, or at least for the Christian or anybody who talks to God, when you say your prayer, you're actually breaking down the things you did good that day or the things you could have did better that day. You know what I mean? And it's like, when I have my hands down and I'm getting hit in the face and my coach says, put your hands up, and he's screaming at me. Well, he's screaming at me. He's a jerk. I'm not going to put my hands up. Boom. And my head keeps getting knocked out. It's like, oh no, my coach has the best for me. He sees something I can't see. Let's put my hands up. And now I'm not getting hit anymore in the face. Okay. Constructive criticism does work. And not only that, me putting my hands down, I thought I was doing the right thing, but it's too quick. So you got to make sure you have another set of eyes that will tell you what you're doing wrong. And a lot of fighters, some fighters don't want any of it. They don't want any criticism. They want to go in there and do their thing. And I would say to them, you must not really want to win.
Yeah. And to kind of connect that, right, a little bit to just like life in general, you know what I mean? Like there's moments where it's easy for us to neglect, constructive criticism with the way we talk, the way we act, and we respond in a negative way, you know what I mean? And you've learned how to take good constructive criticism in fighting. So would you say you're good at taking that same criticism in regular life because you took it?
Well, that's hard because who knows how many opportunities I missed of the good constructive criticism. But, it's... You definitely have more patience because in jiu-jitsu, it's a chess match. There's so many types of things that can go wrong or can go right for you. But, when somebody's on you and it's 100 degrees in the gym and we're in our jiu-jitsu jackets and pants, so it's already hot, and my guy's trying to strangle me. But my buddy's behind my back and he's trying to strangle me, and I'm just trying to breathe, trying to work my way out of this, and then sooner than later I'll find my way out. And in life, sometimes I'll find myself in an awkward position where I know I could have done something better, and as long as I know I could have done it better, I'll just give it to the Lord, and it'll help me pass it through. And it's just it's a mind game.
Yeah, well,
it's definitely a mind game.
Sometimes life has a chokehold on you too.
Yep.
And you got to figure out how to wiggle your way out of those situations as well.
Or not even wiggle, just let it go through, let it run its course.
Well, because sometimes like we have to trust God and everything that, he does for our life, and the same thing, like, it's okay. It'll figure itself out.
Yeah.
We just got to trust in him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And trust in the work that we put in day to day that will reap what we sow.
Yep.
When it comes down to it. So I was just curious as to maybe like just in general fighting, like discipline, like all these things that you have to do when you are getting ready for a fight in boxing. I feel like it's at another level compared to just like strength training or just cardiovascular health, or, you know what I mean? Just like running, jogging, all these things are
blood sport.
Yeah. Like sounds like fighting is so much more of a mental game than anything else that I've heard or seen. You know what I mean? So like fighting is just in a class of its own, and it's a one-on-one sport. You know what I mean? And the risk is just immediately higher.
It's high
based on it being just such a dangerous sport. I mean, I hear that boxing is more dangerous than MMA because the amount of hits you take to the head and stuff like that. Would you say that's also true? Or
yeah, and just an example, let's say that some guy in an MMA fight, some guy knocks me down. He jumps on top of me with me being concussed, and he'll finish me.
Yeah.
The ref will stop it. You concuss me in a boxing match, I know all my family's there.
Right.
And if you concuss me in the boxing match, the ref will give me 10 seconds to come back up.
Yeah.
You think I'm not going to stand up?
Yeah.
I'm standing up, especially as a fighter. Anybody who just probably say, no, I'm not going to get up. Yeah, but you weren't going to be in there into the beginning, in the start of it. Like, your mindset probably wouldn't even want to go in there.
The mindset, yeah.
But the mindset of an athlete who wants to go in there or needs to, I'm fortunate enough, I don't have to fight. I just I like to. But you got some of these fighters who are going paycheck to paycheck, and that is like, personally for me, that's hell.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like, you have to fight?
Yeah.
Man. That's a lot. That's a lot to hold. Especially to feed your family, that's a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like you've done fighting for so long, it's almost like everything else is kind of easy to you because of that. Would you say that? Like when you go into the ring, you've done all these pretty difficult things when it comes to like your sport. Does it just feel like everything else in life is like a breeze?
Competitive wise, I try to tell myself that, but in life, no. So that's where it comes in of you have the fighter mindset, but if you take that mindset to the real world, to your job or anything like that, it won't last.
Yeah.
Because there's a professional aspect involved and stuff like that. And, you know, when your temper is high in a professional environment, you can't react the same way as a fight. Because if somebody's on top of you in a fight or in practice and you're getting claustrophobic and just frustrated, you can literally just say, screw it, and just go balls out, and it'll probably benefit you. But you can't do that in the real workforce.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't work.
Yeah, having a street fight is way different than, you know.
Well, then a street fight to me is different.
Yeah.
Because a street fight now, you're talking about legal issues and the law.
I didn't even think about that, yeah.
No, yeah, that's a different thing now. Like, I'll be out, let's just say that I go out with my buddies one night, and you got a couple of guys over here who have a couple of drinks, and they see my ears, and they're like, I'm a little guy, and they're like, I think I could get you, and I think I could take you, dude. And I'm like, you can, bro. And I just walk away. And psychologically, they're like, was he messing with me? And in my head, like, bro, you can't stand 2 seconds of my world. But me trying to prove it to this guy, and I got my lady here, I want to go home with her, dude. Like, leave me alone. What if you bring $500 and we come to the gym on Monday?
Yeah.
And then we'll see.
Right.
They never show up. They'll never show up.
Have them sign a waiver real quick. Hey, I'm not liable for, for nothing.
But they won't. They won't.
Right.
It's just like from my last fight, you get a lot of guys like, oh, I could take you on this and that. They'll tell my people, and my people will tell me, and I'm like, yeah, well, anybody could knock somebody out. Like, what I did, anybody can do. But can you show up to practice as a white belt in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Go every single day and lose for months and then maybe even years. But then you finally get your blue belt, and then you start beating people. Then you get your purple belt, then your brown belt, then your black. Can you do that? Because that is the hard part. You know, like, don't take away my knockout from all the hard work I've done.
Yeah. Talk about your knockout real quick. So you fought recently, right?
Yeah, I fought in, what are we in? I think I fought in February.
Yeah, and you knocked the guy out in 6 seconds.
He hit the canvas in 6 seconds. They call it 9 seconds. I call it 6 seconds. Yeah, 6 seconds, dude. I knocked him out in 6 seconds.
Dang. Did you like time it on your watch or something like that?
No, I was looking at the actual timer.
Oh.
You could go back. You could look on the actual live video.
Yeah.
And it has the fight clock going. So it's a 5-minute timer.
After that happened, I was like, are you low-key disappointed that it didn't last as long? Because you put so much work into it just for it to end in 6 seconds. You're like, no, bro, that was perfect.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the reason why you put in all the work. Yeah, no, I don't. So then right after that, though, I did have a jiu-jitsu match, and I could easily have held the guy down and won the jiu-jitsu match, but I wanted to like move a little bit. You know, I want to give my people who came to see me a show. And even when I look back at it, I want to see how I move. I want to criticize myself and look how I move. What can I do wrong or what can I do right on the next time? And I needed more, we call it more, so yeah, the term of it is mat time. I wanted more mat time. I didn't want to get out in 6 seconds this time. I wanted to actually sweat. I wanted to put myself in bad positions and see if I could get out. So, and I ended up winning that one, and that was like 3 weeks after the 6 second knockout.
Yeah.
But the knockout, excuse me, I'm a wrestler. That wasn't supposed to happen.
right.
My goal.
So you're not a striker.
I mean, I've done striking since I was 20. I've been striking since I was 20, but I've been wrestling since I was 6. One thing I learned is all these adult men do not want to wrestle in MMA. They have to do jiu-jitsu just in case they get to the floor, but they all like the stand-up. Well, that's cool. I'll do the stand-up. I'll learn what you're throwing at me.
Yeah.
But I'm more dominant in wrestling. I don't have to get hit. I'm going to take you down, dude. And there was one fight where they're announcing my name, and I watched the fights later, And one of my opponents, when they're announcing his name, he's yelling at me, "You don't even fight." He's literally yelling at me on the other side of the cage, "You don't even fight." Which that he's trying to say, I don't fight, I just wrestle.
Yeah.
Then show me that you can stop what I'm going to throw at you and make me fight.
Right.
Personally, there's only one guy who's made me fight, and that's Trevor Wells, the only guy who's stuffed my takedowns. In order for him to stuff my takedowns and not let me take him down, he had to wrestle in his training camp. So he had to go do the one thing no one likes to do is wrestle. Everyone hates wrestling. It's such a grind, dude.
Well, that's why Khabib beats a lot of these strikers in MMA, right?
Yeah. And he's on a different level, dude. Like, even if you wrestle your whole training camp, you're not going to get by him. I've rolled with him, dude. He's a different monster.
Well, there's literally a video of you wrestling with Khabib, right?
Yeah, he's a different monster, dude. He wasn't going so hard on me. I'm a little smaller than him, but just his technique was beating me.
Dang.
Literally, just his technique. I'm like, what is this? It's such a different...
Or unorthodox.
Yeah.
How can... Because I feel like you've been doing it for so long. What can he know that you don't?
Different moves. Well, so then the rules. So in America, we have something called folk style. Folk style wrestling is something you see in high school wrestling. But then you have something for the whole world in the Olympics, which is called freestyle wrestling. Okay? But then, so you have folk style in America, freestyle in the whole world, but then Dagestan, they do like sambo, which is, it's kind of weird. It's like they have the jiu-jitsu tops, and you can punch, and you can wrestle and grapple. See, we don't have that here in America. So different rules. I mean, even against the cage, dude, that's a different sport. If you put somebody against the cage, the whole game changes in the cage. Just so it's just, there's just little things that work in, like when I had my first fight, my first amateur fight, I would take this guy down easily, but I didn't know how to hold him down and throw punches. That's when jiu-jitsu comes in. You know what I mean? When I took him down, I'm used to just putting guys on their back in wrestling, and then I get the pin. But you don't just hold them in fighting. You have to hit them. What position do I need to get into to have this perfect leverage to start throwing bombs? That's jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So then I started to realize, okay, I have the wrestling already to take them down. But now I need to incorporate more jiu-jitsu to hold them down and be able to land my ground and pound. So
there's so many aspects to it,
dude, so many things. Then in the jiu-jitsu, you have the jiu-jitsu fighter who wants to get into MMA, and they want to stand up, and then they want to grab you and pull you onto them, because jiu-jitsu is when they're on their back most of the time. But they forget in jiu-jitsu, they don't have to worry about the punches. So once they pull somebody down on them, now they have to worry about gravity, because the punches aren't just coming down, they're coming down with gravity. Because the jiu-jitsu guy will be like, oh, I could just punch them coming up. Yeah, but you're going against gravity, dude. I mean, they're going to be throwing elbows and everything. You don't want to be in that position, you know?
That sounds painful.
So then it turns their whole life around like, oh, okay, the jiu-jitsu is just to stay on top. You know, the wrestling is to take them down.
Right.
And the striking, if you're the striker, as a striker, I would say you just need good wrestling defense and a little bit of jiu-jitsu just in case you do get taken down. The wrestling defense is, since you're a good striker, you don't want to be on the ground. But if somebody's going to try to take you down, you better have a good defense to stay away, you know, and just knock them out.
Well, that's what McGregor usually would try to do, right? Is stay away and just try to strike. Okay.
Yep.
So that's why, I mean, you have Khabib, who's just like trying to get you down on the ground.
Exactly.
You have Conor McGregor, who's not trying to like stay away from the ground.
But then you go a little deeper and play chess match. There's only one person who got dropped in that fight, and that was Conor McGregor. Because Conor knows that I'm going to do a double leg on him. Let me fake the double leg, come on top. And then he ended up clipping Conor McGregor, and he dropped.
Yeah.
So you can easily use it as a chess match and not checkers.
So it's whoever kind of just plays their moves right all throughout the fight. And like, obviously you're setting things up as well. Like,
and that comes back to my knockout. He knew, everyone knows I'm going to wrestle, you know? But after my only loss, my whole paradigm changed, dude. Like I said, that was baptism under fire. I was never forced to be in a real fight in my whole MMA career, except for then. So then I ended up losing to him. I came back and I won 2020. And then COVID happened. Then I come back in 2024. and I already know this guy's a little bigger. I go up in weight class. I usually fight at 125s. I walk around 147, but I fought at 135s this time.
Yeah.
So this guy was going to be a little bigger, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know why, man. These guys are big when they cut weight.
Yeah.
They get big and big, which forces me to cut to 125s. So I knew this guy knew that I was a wrestler. And with me, it's like, okay, I need to get his respect on his hands, let him know that I'm coming to try to knock him out. So that way he starts throwing, and that'll set up my takedown. Fortunately for me, I told myself 30 seconds, try to knock him out. Try to get him to get your respect. Get him with a couple good clips, make him bleed a little bit. Then he doesn't want to get hit anymore. So then he's going to start throwing with me. Then that's going to set up my takedown. If I go in there and I just try to take him down right away, he's going to stuff it.
That's probably what he was expecting.
Exactly. So the first, right when the bell rang, I went for a body shot. He swerved really far to my left. I said, okay, I'm going to fake the body shot again, and I'm going to circle with you, and I'm going to come back with the over. I came back with the over, and I feels like I just hit air. Then I come back with the 3, and as I'm coming back with the hook, he's already down. And I followed through with the hook. The breath pushed me off, and I'm like, see ya. I jump over the cage.
He's gone. Yeah. So do you even know exactly where you hit him? Was it like a sweet spot that
No, it was probably, there's pictures of it. I'm like right here on, I would say the top teeth and the bottom of the
Is
nose.
that a place where you can just get knocked out?
No,
in that area?
There's no button. There's no real button. I would say the real button is behind the head, but we're not allowed to because you could die getting hit like that.
In boxing, do they allow that?
No, they don't allow hitting back of the head.
Okay.
But the reason why people get knocked out is like when I tell you to keep your chin down, that you can take a couple hits to the forehead. I mean, God forbid you get hit with a bat on your forehead, you're going to get knocked out. But the knockout really comes from when you hit on the chin and the head whiplashes, and as it turns, your brain hits in the skull. And as it's doing this,
Dang, I didn't know that.
as it's doing this, the brain says, okay, you're done, lights out, and then you'll just drop. You know?
Did you know that?
It's like, but when you get
No, when you the reason people hit in the chin is in order to knock them out, but there's no button right here. What it is when you get hit in the chin, it's going with it, and your brain goes too, but it whiplashes against the skull, and it goes side to side. That's why the more dehydrated you are, the easier it is to get knocked out, because this is our skull right here, and we have a little bit, like if you have a cereal bowl, and you have a little bit of water, and you put a ball, you put a ball in it, that ball is your brain, and it's just floating in there. But it can still hit against the bowl walls, but it's not unless you get the bowl and smack it against something, and that's what causes you to either become concussed, or you'll see some people when they get hit really good, their legs will start going out like noodles.
Yeah.
It's because the connection is just like, whoa, what's going on? And if you get really knocked out, if you get hit really hard, lights off. You just go straight to sleep. You go to the other dimension.
Oh, is that what they call it in fighting?
The dimension, yes.
The dimension.
Yeah, go to the other
Are
world.
you talking about like to heaven or?
No, bro. You ain't going to heaven.
3 to 5 minutes left. And jump.
Yeah. Cool. No, yeah. No, that's so funny, dude. So, well, not funny in the aspect that it's funny to get
Hey, you
knocked
should
out.
put in the time, dude. You
Yeah.
put in the time.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so. Do you think people obviously people don't always lose just because they didn't put in the time? Sometimes the other person's just better for them. Has there has there ever been a moment where you walked in with somebody and you were like, this dude's just better than me in general? You know what I mean? Or
well, I've only lost once to Trevor Wells, and yeah, he was better than me that day. However, like the analogy I gave with one of my client kids, when I tell them, hey, let me see your best effort. Let me do 5 push-ups, 5 burpees, and 5 squats. Let me see how fast you can do it. And if he does it in a minute, let's say no one tells him that he could do it in 50 seconds or 45 seconds or 40 seconds. Let's say that he's been doing his whole fight camp with that same effort as a minute.
yeah,
Let's say that they take that into the cage. You know what I mean? It's like now you're going into managers and coaches like, okay, we don't want that fight. Okay, we want that fight. It's a whole different ballgame. That's why you have to make sure you know what real effort is.
yeah. Well, just like in life, you want all the right people around you.
Yeah.
in order to make you a better person, a better individual. You can't just have a bunch of people who, you know, always agree with you, are always on your side. You want people who are actually going to come at you with some, you know, with something different, you know, something innovative, you know, something that's actually going to challenge you in a sense, verbally, you know, physically, something, right? And so you probably had to surround your team for boxing, right? Your team around, you know, you probably had to surround yourself around people who were going to be like, hey man, you're going to get knocked out if you keep doing that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Put your hands up.
Yeah.
Keep your hands up. Yeah, definitely.
And
you have to. But that there has to be some humbleness in you in order to accept that.
So do you go into the boxing, because I hear different people say this, but do you go into the boxing or octagon or like whatever, whenever you're going to fight somebody, do you go into the ring thinking it's possible for me to lose? Or are you one of those people who are like, you can't think that, like, nope, I'm going to win?
No, so one prayer I do before I fight is I pray not for victory, but to perform my best. And I can tell myself all the time, I perform my best. I know it. I've trained myself in the training camp. Like, okay, you have 24 hours in a day. My practice is from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. I have to be on my best right there. And I train myself for the whole 2-3 months to make sure when it's time to push the switch, I can be on.
Yeah.
So if I can be on and I know in my heart that I'm right and I know that I've done everything right, which I did with all my fights, I've only lost one of them. I went to the back with him and I said, you know, I gave you everything, dude. I trained my hardest. I'm nice and healthy. Good for you. You got me. You know, I mean, you're not going to win them all. And I tell that even to like my young fighters who come to me, it's like, bro, sooner or later you're going to have a girl and she's going to break your heart. You're not going to win them all. She's going to find somebody out, you know, and then not necessarily in that way, but you might lose a job, you know, where the boss's son just graduated high school and it just so happens he took your spot. Suck it up and move on. You know, you got to you're not going to win it all at life.
Yeah,
you know,
not about if it happens, it's when it happens.
When it happens.
You're going to get to that point.
And Bruce Lee said it best, it's everyone knows how to win, but they don't want to learn how to lose. What does that mean? I'm a loser? Nah, bro, you're going to lose sooner than later. But hopefully more times than not, you're winning. But when you do lose, take it on the chin. If you're lucky, you gave your best effort. That way you can just learn from it. Because the worst is when you have a wrestler who loses a match. And they go and throw a pissy fit over here. And it's like, dude, you could have had all that energy and put it into the last 10 seconds and you didn't. Why?
Dang.
Now you're regretting it and you don't want to regret. Like the fight I lost, I have no regrets on. I signed up for, I knew who I was signing up for. I knew what I was signing up for. I put all the best training partners with me that I could do to beat this guy, and I still couldn't beat him. Well, good for you, dude. I'm not going to take it away from you and say, well, I was drinking last night. That's the reason why you beat me. Nah, dude. That's
Everybody always wants to make excuses.
Yeah, nah, dude. And then even John Jones said that. John Jones would go out the best in the world. He would go, and which he's also a Christian, so think of this. Mentally, he went out 2-3 days, maybe the day before fights. And then he comes out later saying, the reason I honestly did that was because just in case I did lose, I can go back on that and say, oh, the reason why I lost because I was partying. Yeah, bro. But good thing you can admit that, because now you're going to be a better person. The real question is, can you give your best training camp and say, hey, I gave my best training camp, tomorrow we fight, and if he beats me, he beat me at my best. That takes real balls, I think. Personally.
To give your absolute all and know if you left everything out on the table, and if you lose, you lose.
Dude, I got some fighters that I know, and they want to travel across as amateurs. They don't get paid. They want to travel across the country, right? And some of them I told, like, dude, why are you guys going all the way over there? You want home field advantage. There's so many people you can fight here. So then they go, and some of them end up losing. But in their posts, or at least their coaches, oh, well, we took this fight on short notice and we had to travel all the way over there, and that's the reason why we lost. But you volunteered for it, didn't you?
Right.
Now you're taking it away from the opponent who beat you, who put all their hard work in it, and you're taking it away from yourself because you're lying to yourself. You know, like being in a relationship and cheating and not telling them.
But what about like injuries? right? Or like clauses that people put on other fighters in order to kind of keep them in a lower state of health or lower
You
state
mean
of
like
being.
the dehydration?
Yeah,
clause
like a
and stuff?
dehydration clause, or just or Manny Pacquiao when he was injured against Floyd Mayweather, and then he like comes out after and he's like, "Oh, my shoulder was messed up."
Well, then, for one, Ryan Garcia, you shouldn't have taken that fight with the dehydration clause, because if you lose, don't go start complaining. For Manny Pacquiao, you shouldn't have taken that fight if the money was good. Well, you sold your soul for the money, dude, because you knew you shouldn't have taken that fight with your shoulder like that. That should have been just between you and the Lord, because I think Manny Pacquiao is a man of faith.
Yeah.
And personally, for me, that should have been between him and the Lord. Like, hey, dude, you lost. You took the fight. You obviously thought you can beat him with this shoulder injury, and you couldn't. So why are you going back and trying to take it away from Floyd?
Yeah.
For me, personally, that's
Because
how
they
I
could have
think of it.
rematched and stuff like that, but I think
But
after
Floyd
that
didn't want a
point-
rematch. Like,
Yeah,
dude,
why
I
would
gave
you
your shot?
want a
I gave you
rematch
your shot
after you go off
unless
and
the
say all
money's
this
right.
stuff?
Unless the money's right.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So in the world of fighting, how long does it take for like the money to start coming?
bro, that's a lot. You're talking.
Really?
You're talking about. There's so many variables to that too, dude. You're talking about how infamous you want to be. I would use the word infamous. Only because nobody in this day and age, especially on social media and when it comes to mainstream, you don't get a million likes over something good. It's usually something I don't know.
Controversial.
Yes.
Because I wouldn't always say bad, but just something that people could disagree with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's like that. So when I first started fighting, my mom and mostly my mom, but my parents were on social media too. But you can after my fights, you see all the critics on there, like dropping their comments and giving their 2 cents to me about me.
Yeah.
And my parents would tell me this. I'm like, hey, look, guys, this is the stage. I could care less.
Yeah.
They're not out there doing it.
Right.
They're
For a reason.
They're definitely not telling me this.
Yeah.
But then it got to a point when I turned pro. Do I want to get the mic and start ramming my mouth and start throwing insults to these guys so I could get more I thought about it. But I knew personally that's selling my soul. I don't want to do it.
Okay.
I don't want to do that.
So selling your soul, what do you mean by that?
Well, at weigh-ins, I can easily push the guy, call him the B word, and get a lot of likes before the fight, and that ups my likes, that ups my platform, that ups all of it.
Wow.
But this is more respect for me. Like, I got my little brother, my little nephew, a lot of my wrestlers, they come to me off of documentaries that I've posted in the past. They come up to me and I'm like, where did I hear that? They go, oh, I looked you up on YouTube. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not throwing any shade to people, but I mean, from the last Ryan Garcia fight, I don't want my little brother to look at his whole social media from the past 3-4 months.
Yeah.
That's raunchy, bro. And that's just from me criticizing of another fighter. Honestly, you could do whatever you want, but you can. I don't know. Just for me, it wasn't worth it for me.
It's hard. I was kind of battling with that thought process today because I was reflecting back on that, and he had made some comments after the fight and had said, God's using me in this way. I'm a sinner or whatever. It's like I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. It's proven in the Bible that God's going to use people who are broken and who don't deserve it, and he whatever. And it's like, as much as I hate what he's doing or what he's done and just like the way he's acting, I can't help but kind of also understand that because I'm like, if we looked at that,
I think
was David the best person for us all to look at as the example to live? Sometimes he was, but sometimes he really wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Was he knowing that it? I mean, I guess he knew. Like with David, let's say for instance, what is it, Uriah's wife?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say he probably. See, that's hard, man. Because personally, personally, for me, that is a tough one.
Was it? I think Solomon is the one who had like 1,000 wives.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is, Caleb? 1,000 wives. Solomon had 1,000 wives.
It was like 700.
Yeah. Let's say 7.
Yeah. So, but why is he in the Bible? Why does he get that publicity?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got.
But was it to get? When you talk about money, right? Did Solomon have all those wives just to get the money? No.
Yeah.
See, that's the difference. He already had the money and everything. He just got lost in it. And then sooner than later, he's like, oh, this this isn't that good. You know what I mean? And for me, I'm in a position where, hey, I can go the right way and make decent money and have a good following, but be respected by all the youth and their parents. You know what I mean? Or I can do this way, and I like to use the word infamous because, you know, I'm being popular right now, but I'm being popular because I shoved him, talked about his girl, or, you know, stuff like that. But why am I doing that? I'm doing it for the fame and for the money. Well, that's what root is that for me. That's not. That's the root of money, and I don't want to.
The root of evil, right?
Yeah.
That's your own desires. Again, going back to that.
So, like the reason personally for me, not to throw Ryan under the bus, but the reason he did all this, you know, he had like some X-rated stars that he was hanging out with and stuff like
posting
that.
on social media.
So, was that for more clout? Yes, of course. Well, then there you go, right there. With King David, when he took Uriah's wife, that was just for the lust that he got lost in. It wasn't for, hey, look at me, I'm just here to show you that I'm the boss. No, he actually felt bad. He tried to get Uriah to come back to think that he impregnated his girl because he felt bad about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, well, let's try to just kill Uriah because I can't deal with it.
Yeah.
So
I really hope his name is Uriah. I'm pretty sure it is.
So.
Okay.
I think
okay. So yeah, no, I get what you're saying though. It's different. God knows your heart, so
yes, exactly.
He knows your intentions behind it.
And I don't know Ryan's intention, but let's say I don't know. I found it hard. It's like
God constantly uses broken people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Would you say Ryan's broken?
I would. I mean, I think I think we're all broken. But I think some people are maybe a little bit more broken than others. You know what I mean? And I think, a lot of men succumb to the sin of lust. You know what I mean? And so I think that's a struggle that a lot of people have. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Obviously we don't know these people in real life.
Yeah.
So we can't exactly tell where the intention is, but God does know their intention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think God could still use somebody like that, even though they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and he's shown that. You know what I mean?
The thing that I don't get is, you know, he knows that he has all these little kids looking at him, and he's preaching the word and preaching Christ. I wouldn't want my nephew to see him preaching Christ and also him with these type of people and be like, oh, well, he follows Christ. I guess it's okay to be with these people. It's like, nah, bro, it's not. That's like you, that's like, somebody with, how would you say it? I like to have a beer every now and then. I don't go to the kids' schools and say, you all need to drink beers because I do it and it's going to be okay. Nah, dude, it's like, if you want to get real down and technical, I shouldn't be drinking. Sometimes I like to have a cold beer at the poolside, and that's me and what that's my vice. Yeah.
Or like every now and then you want to go ahead and
Yeah.
It's just something that you use. It's not something that you depend on,
Exactly.
or it's not something that you need to do, but it's just something that, because again, getting drunk is the sin, not drinking, right? And so as long
being
as
a drunk, right? Being a
drunkard, exactly. Yeah, that's being a sin, or that is a sin.
Yeah, so you're just living in it. And
there you
know,
go.
hey, there was before a time in my 20s I was living in it.
Yeah.
But I also wasn't trying to carry my cross, signing up for anything hard. I was very comfortable.
Yeah.
I was in, how do you say, gluttony? I was doing the sin of gluttony, like, you know, just being a...
Yeah, you can anything can also become your vice.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, it could be, you know, absolutely, you know, anything. Now it's like social media and, you know, people stumbling in, you know, the way their language, you know, the way they talk. So many things that we struggle with.
Their likes, like with women and their likes on social media. It's like, sheesh, and you over here preaching, you got a tube top on, showing everything. Like, sheesh, girl.
Yeah, it's so difficult because I feel like as brothers and sisters, we're supposed to call each other out on our, you know, stuff. But then it's like you're riding that fine line of how do I call this person out of love, not out of judgment.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so that's
tough.
probably the most difficult thing. But I feel like that's where like fighting is just so valuable because you're able just to have that open communication and you don't have to worry as much about saying something a certain way because you know this person is coming from a good intention.
Yeah, and it's raw. Like, it's gonna show you, like, hey, dude, in jiu-jitsu, you gotta stop doing that because it's gonna come out sooner than later that you're doing it wrong and you're gonna lose. Well, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Then you go to the wrestling tournament and you lose that way. I mean, the it's bound to come out. Where when it comes to our everyday lives, you won't be able to see that until you meet your maker. You know what I mean? Then by that time, it's too late.
Yeah. So who would you contribute, or what would you contribute to all the success that you've had, the last 5 years? Like, what is the biggest
5 years?
Yeah.
Oh, I would have to start from the beginning, dude. It would definitely be my parents first. Well, then I would have to say my grandparents, because my grandparents instilled discipline to my parents. And my parents had me young. So now that I think about it, it's like, wow, you guys came a long way.
Yeah. So your family.
Definitely my family.
And I know you've talked a lot about your girl being huge.
Yeah. So I've always known the love of God because, my mom, from being an infant to 6 years old, somebody had to take care of me.
Right.
My parents took care of me. But I never felt the love of God from somebody else other than my family. And man, she showed me shout out to my lovely woman, Roxia. She definitely showed me that what unconditional love is, and love is patient. And it's like, if you can be the patient one with love, you're a little higher. Like, if you have a mom and the two kids are fighting inside and one kid makes the other kid cry, you don't kill the other kid or like shun them.
Yeah.
Like, stuff happens. I still love both of you. It's gonna happen. Let's try not to do it again.
Right.
It's I couldn't figure that out before, especially coming from a violent sport. Like, personally, from wrestling. Wrestling is harder than fighting to me. Wrestling is way harder. I'd rather go to an MMA practice than a wrestling practice.
Yeah.
It's cutthroat, dude. Like, I think wrestling should be in the curriculum for every kid. One, it shows true responsibility. It gives you true controlled pain, because nothing will make us do anything more than pain, I mean, the fear of death before that will be the reality of pain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, my parents, Roxia, she showed me a lot, man, especially throughout these couple years we've been together. And I'm only diving deeper into it now.
Yeah. And God, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, it started with, how do I say this? The only God you know is the one you see through others. And unless you do the research yourself and you start comparing how Jesus treated the disciples, and even though that you're going to turn me in, I'm still washing your feet.
Yeah.
I can read that over and over. But it wasn't until me and my girl got into a little argument from out of town, and once we got home, I'm being a jerk, and I knew I needed to help her take all the luggage down going upstairs to our apartment, but I didn't. I had a little crappy attitude, and I stood into the AC and I let her do it.
Right.
Because I need to get back at her. I'm getting my revenge.
Yeah.
But she would always give me tea and fruit, and whenever we would get home, even though we're both mad at each other right now, and I made her bring all the luggage in, guess what she does? She still brings me tea and fruit. Oh.
It clicked.
That's what it is. Okay, I get it now. So then my IQ just went even deeper, even higher. Okay, I get it. I would never have got it if you didn't show me. I can read it all day, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's personally for me.
Yeah, that is God's love. God's love is giving love,
Even
and
if you don't get it.
not expecting anything in return. Like, God will constantly love you, and you could shun him. You could go off and do your own thing. He'll still always be there for you, and it'll be like you never did it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's you're right. That's unconditional love. The fact that someone could love us so much to that extent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's when I was like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
I definitely get it. Now I know what it is to have that, which I'm still getting, I'm trying to get better at it.
Yeah. I'm really appreciative of you coming on this podcast and just talking about like fighting, family, like God, you know what I mean? Like all the things that I'm about, because I feel like in an age where there's no, I don't know, like a lot of those things are lost.
It's hard, dude. Like, I give you props. At 24, I was not I did not think the way you thought at 24. I knew it was there, but I was the dude's like, nah, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go do this over here. And I admit that. You
and
know?
I was the dude who grew up in a Christian home,
Okay,
right?
got it.
And I was curious to try other things, and I did, and then I would do it, and it was just like,
Gross.
I think I saw right through it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's because the Holy Spirit has been in me
Yeah.
since birth, not because of me and just me, but because of the family that I was raised in.
So then that was you wrestling with God.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, okay,
That's why wrestling's the best sport. That's why wrestling's the best sport.
I'm going to church. I'm going to church. I'm doing all these things because my parents are telling me.
Yeah.
Right. But then I do get a relationship with God to an extent. I do learn a lot about Jesus. You know, I do get so much from it. But it didn't become my own relationship until I finally said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to church myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to do these things myself. Right.
So that's you picking up your cross.
And it took me wrestling with what I wanted to do and what I knew was best for me because my parents raised me a certain way, into knowing, okay, like this is what's going to be productive and give me true fulfillment for my whole life. I know that.
Yeah.
And it's like in subconscious, you know, you're going to get to it. But the only thing that's holding you back is, I don't know if I want to get to it yet.
Your choice. Yeah. Let's hold that back.
Yeah. Because I'm like, well, I kind of want to do what I want to do, but tomorrow's not guaranteed. So to have that mindset is foolish. You know what I mean? And so
Tough one.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like the guys who are having a three month fight camp, and they choose to go out and have the pizza. They choose to have the beer, and then it's not only until it's time to pay the piper, where they're like, "Hey, I don't want to do it anymore."
Yeah, it was literally just me being curious. Okay, you know what? Like I've never had, you know, a sip of this or a hit of that. You know what I mean? Oh, let me try it once or twice, and then you're like, this is dumb.
Got it.
Like in my mind, like that in my heart, that's what I felt, and it was almost, maybe it was God telling me, or you know, giving me this feeling of like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Because that's immediately what would come in my head.
Yeah.
Every time I did something like that, I was like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is.
Yeah.
Because
following it.
Yeah. Because it looks fun from the outside looking in, but then it's like, well, I don't like this. Not only do I not like this, it's literally not productive for me.
Yeah.
And it's literally not productive or fulfilling long term.
So, and no, my girl doesn't like when I say this, but I would say that is true selfishness. Where you're at, like you want to have the best productive life. A lot of people think, oh well, no, if you're drinking and smoking and everything, then you're selfish. I'll be like, no, he's not. He's dumb as a doorknob if he's gonna be throwing his life away. If you're following the Lord, if you're not doing all this dumb stuff, then that's true selfishness. Well, I guess, that's not a good word, but
yeah, I think if you switch the wording, I get where you're trying to go with that.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, you're doing it not because you want to do it. It's because God wants you to do it, right? So there's joy in it. So I'm not being selfish by saying, oh, you know, I'm doing this for me. I'm having a relationship with God for me. I'm having a relationship.
Feel joy when you do that?
100%. But I could also say I feel more momentary joy when I do things that are not godly or not glorifying to God. Right. But still, it's a sense of when I have a relationship with God, it's fulfilling. And again, it's fulfilling to me long term.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I pray, it's not like immediate like relief off my back, you know, because a lot of the times prayer takes time to be answered. So it's not like this immediate relief. You know what's immediate relief though? Getting high. That's a pretty immediate relief. You know what I mean? Right? So that's why people tend to gravitate towards those things. But when you tend to gravitate towards the Lord, you have to find peace with the fact that your prayers and your wants and needs aren't always going to be even answered, because it might not even be what God wants to do. Two, they might not be answered in the way you want it to be answered. You know what I mean? Well, so there's just all these things you have to think about when you're praying. It's not as simple as forgetting about it and go doing the thing that's more fun.
And you gotta learn.
You know, because that's truly selfish, because then you're living for yourself.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have a good relationship with God, not just for myself, but for everyone around me, so they can benefit from the best version of Emilio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because my wife is going to love me more, and is also going to want to have a better relationship with God because I'm the head of that marriage and I'm leading it, and she's going to want to, you know, follow in those footsteps. So is my daughter. I have to be strong in my faith so that she's strong in her faith when she's born. You know what I mean? And so I'm bringing more disciples to Christ.
Yeah.
And, people all around me are going to see, oh, Emilio's doing this podcast or whatever. Like, and it's not for me. I'm doing it, but I'm just being used.
Yeah.
I always, like, right now, God's blessing my business, and I'm not sitting here like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm just like, hey, business has been good, but glory to God.
Yeah.
All glory to God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm only here because of Him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I get where you're going.
Yeah, no.
But that's how I would explain it.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
It's such a mental warfare.
Yeah. So, but dude, thank you so much. Can you go ahead and tell the camera one more time in the podcast where to find you and what you do exactly?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Paul Elizondo, Instagram Paul Jr. Fit _ I believe, or _ Paul Jr. Fit. I'm a personal trainer. I also do mixed martial arts training, boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, full MMA combat. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Remember to stay righteous and stay real, and hope to see you next time. Peace.